welcome to episode 7 of Useful Strategies to Combat Disruption. And today I'm welcomed by Fiona from Loyalty Lion. Fiona, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. So I'm Fiona, Head of Marketing at Loyalty Lion. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on here today. Loyalty Lion is a data-driven loyalty and engagement platform. We work with fast-growth merchants around the world on most of the major e-commerce platforms.
And just a quick question from me. Is Loyalty Lion a British company, British software company?
Yes, we are headquartered in London, but we have stores all around the world, actually predominantly in the US.
Okay, cool. All right. It's always nice to know that we're doing some stuff in Britain. Right. So what we've been doing over the past few weeks is we've been talking to various sort of partners that we work with to help merchants with their e-commerce requirements. And talking to them about how merchants can sort of make the most of the software they have or explore new software solutions to sort of help with distance selling and e-commerce. So we've particularly seen quite a lot of merchants who previously were selling through restaurants and retail outlets and things like that have to suddenly sort of learn all the disciplines of selling direct. And shops popping up really quickly, and so it's the content that we're trying to put out is sort of hints and tips for merchants about how they can sort of what they need to do first, and just some useful ideas. Really, they won't apply to everybody, but we thought that it would be really interesting to ask yourselves, who are experts in customer engagement and loyalty, what merchants should be thinking about doing in these very strange and weird times. So one of the questions I sort of had for you to begin with was, and I've asked this of everybody, is which particular sectors are doing, in your opinion, well, and which ones are doing not so well at the moment? Have you seen a sort of change in the markets?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's been very interesting, actually, the things that have spiked at different times. So obviously at the very beginning, people were going crazy for toilet roll, for and everything like that. And then a couple of weeks in, there was a huge shift, and everybody realized that they didn't have to actually get dressed to leave the house for a good long time. So they would start buying really comfortable clothes. I think things like jogging bottoms and athleisure wear just went through the roof. And also people realized that they weren't going to be able to get to the gym for a long time. So things like home weights kits, yoga mats, flying off the shelves. And then I think, another couple of weeks went past, and it was arts and crafts went crazy. And actually, funnily enough, alcohol subscriptions through the roof. It seems we all need a few glasses of wine to help us get through social distancing.
Just a few.
Just a few, yeah. So yeah, food and beverage has taken off as well. So I think, there's definitely some sectors that had a huge spike in traffic that they weren't perhaps expecting. And I think those actually have remained quite high over the last, coming up to 2 months now.
Okay, and so one of the things that we noticed is that, as I said previously, some merchants are suddenly sort of selling direct to consumers. So if you've suddenly had a surge in demand, what would and you've suddenly got a new customer database of contacts that you would previously have shopped through a high street retailer or at a supermarket or something like that, and they simply couldn't get the deliveries they wanted through their normal sort of merchants. What would you recommend in terms of customer retention for those sort of merchants who are just starting out on this journey, basically?
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, people often put acquisition as a higher priority than retention, and in this circumstance, it's completely the other way around. I think you could really liken the COVID crisis to Black Friday in a way. You get a huge influx of new customers, but if you don't keep them engaged and try to retain them, then they're going to be one-hit wonders, and they're not going to add much value to you over time. So I think the first and most important thing is just to try and get everybody creating an account rather than remaining a guest checkout. and ideally that's a conversion that would happen as they're actually transacting. But if not, if people don't stop to create an account, then make sure you reach out afterwards with post-purchase emails. You really need to show people that there's some value in them exchanging their details with you, and encourage them to come back and sign up so that you can keep in touch with them and you can give them reasons to come back to your store. I think it's also important, if you are using a loyalty program and you're using points, then it's really important to make sure that your customers can quickly earn enough points to come back and get a reward quickly. That's how you secure your second purchase in a shorter time frame. So we'd recommend offering new members enough points that they can immediately access a reward, or running a double points promotion or something quite soon after that first purchase, so they've got a reason to come back and reconvert sooner. And then I think it's about finding as many ways to engage with your brand as possible in those really early days after their first purchase. And that could just be encouraging them to follow you on social media. It could be telling you their birthday so that they know that you'll get in touch with a reward or something on their birthday, encouraging them to come back and review your products. Whatever it is, just have lots of different reasons to engage with them right after that first purchase, so that they'll come back, shop with you again sooner, and then their customer lifetime value will increase, versus just having all these new customers that you've actually acquired quite cost effectively just churn and have to spend more money on acquiring and replacing them with a new influx.
Yeah, and how easy is it to reward customers for these different sorts of actions? Because I think most customers understand the concept of, you know, an extra point for every pound I spend or something like that, because those sorts of loyalty programs have been around for a while. What are other ways that you can reward them that work particularly well from a customer acquisition point of view?
We're seeing some really great things. This is a shift in the market, I think, actually. People are moving away from kind of discount-led rewards and starting to do more exclusive experiential type things. So a couple of examples, you might, instead of giving a discount or free delivery or something, you might give someone early access to your next sale. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. These are actually far more cost-effective rewards.
Yeah.
It could be early access to sales. It could be inviting members to join an exclusive community where they can access content that non-members can't get. It could be, we've seen some people do things like beta access to new products. So you could be, if you've got a favorite makeup company or something, you could be the first person to test out their new line when it comes live. And again, these are just ways of engaging with people in between purchases and actually encouraging them to try and build up that points balance a little bit faster.
Okay. And are there any sort of recommendations you would make in terms of growing that customer base? Can you leverage those new customers to spread the word, for want of a better expression? And what are some tips about how to do that in a sort of not aggressive way?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, this is really interesting because we've looked back over the period, the month of March, and we will be looking back at April when we get to it as well. But we've looked back at March and found that reward program members were actually more likely to make referrals and leave reviews and act as advocates in March, while the whole crisis was really bedding in. I don't know if it's because people have more time on their hands, perhaps.
Yeah.
But they were actually more likely to act as advocates during that period than they were before, which is great news for brands, because anyone that's loyal to your store knows you, trusts your brand, and is more likely to recommend you to others. And there's probably 3 key ways to do that. The first, I would say, is reviews. So obviously somebody who reads a review is more likely to convert. They trust the user-generated content online. So you can be offering customers that leave reviews points in return, and just incentivizing them with the fact that they can unlock a reward if they leave a review. Referrals is the other one. So encouraging people to refer their friends and family members. And I think it's for a customer who is referred is 4 times more likely to complete a transaction than somebody you acquire through a different channel. So definitely worth looking at referrals, and what you can actually tie the 2 together very nicely. And you could send anybody that leaves you a review a referral prompt email. You know that they're happy with you. They've left you a 5-star review. So it's a great time to say, hey, would you also like to earn points by referring your friend? And obviously you can then have the friend that gets referred unlock points as well, just to really make sure that they go on and make a purchase too. And then I think the third thing that's really important right now is around social media again. I was reading the other day, I think that it's people are 60% more likely to be browsing through social media at the moment. So getting people to mention your brand is really, really important online. So you can actually reward things like the use of your brand's Instagram hashtag. Offer people, hey, have 50 points each time you use our hashtag. And that's great for this, going back to the kind of jogging buttons and sweatpants example. There's a lot of people buying things like that. And there's some really good posts they could be sharing, like, hey, just sitting around on the sofa in my new Lululemon jogging buttons or whatever it might be. And it's a great way of just increasing engagement and reaching new audiences as well, but without really having to invest.
Yeah, no, it's interesting actually, because I certainly personally have been spending a lot more time on Instagram than I would care to admit. And so sort of along those lines, we're talking about, it sort of ties in very well with my next question, which is about building communities. Mm-hmm. And why is it in this day and age for, you know, I mean, I do this all the time. So we've built over sort of 300 websites in the past 20 years and dealt with lots of different merchants. So it's bread and butter to me. But for people who are starting out on this journey, why is it important to have a community around your brand? And what are the pressures that are driving merchants to do this?
I think there's two sides to that at the moment, actually. I think with the whole COVID-19 crisis ongoing, we've seen a kind of silver lining, which is actually communities have come together in a really strong way. So things like clapping for the NHS on a Thursday night, or the number of people who are volunteering to help in their communities. You know, we've seen a really nice side of community come out. And brands are actually in a similar position there. I think Edelman, the PR agency, did some really good research. I think it said, I can't quite remember the numbers, but I think it was 92% of people say that their perceptions of brands will be really negatively impacted if they see them putting profit before people at this time. Okay. So I think brands have actually got quite a responsibility to be seen to be acting in a way that is good for their community at the moment. And from a loyalty perspective, we actually did some research at the beginning of the year that showed almost 70% of consumers are more likely to be loyal to a brand if they feel that that brand shares their values and believes in the same things. So people want to know that you're aligned with the values that they have as well. And I think if you have an online community, you can really, through your content, through the things that you reward in your program, all sorts of different things, but you can really make them feel like they're part of something bigger and show that you do have that community online. And that's the best way to drive customer loyalty.
And is it also a useful strategy for sort of competing with the giants like Amazon and those sorts of, you know, the people who can deliver something within 1 hour and, you know?
No, it absolutely is. And I think as this kind of trend of conscious consumerism grows, they're starting to shop with their hearts, not their heads. They will wait longer delivery times to shop with the brands that they feel are better aligned with them, and they will actually potentially even spend slightly more to shop with the brands that they believe care about the same things.
Yeah, and is it possible through a sort of loyalty or customer engagement platform to reward customers for donating, let's say, to a charity that's helping the NHS or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. So we're seeing some brands do some really nice things with that, actually. So we have a pet supply. Pet care is actually another sector that seems to be booming. I guess everybody wants to make sure that their cats and dogs don't starve. But yeah, we have a lovely dog food company, and if you earn enough points, you can, instead of redeeming a reward like a 15% off your next purchase or whatever, you can actually redeem it against a donation to a dog shelter, or actually I think knitted booties for dogs is one of them as well. Or you can do it the other way around, and you could use it as a way to earn points. So Pacifica Beauty is an example. If you send back your empty mascara container to them, they will recycle it and give you points for that action as well. So it's just, you know, you're showing customers that you care about the same things, but you're also giving them more opportunities to take positive actions themselves as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful. And so let's say I'm sort of literally one of those merchants who's starting out on this journey. How can I launch a loyalty program quickly? What are the basics? Loyalty 101.
Yeah, I think there's a really a big barrier, actually, a quite common misconception that a loyalty program has to be the most complex thing. It's just another thing to add to your to-do list, and that's not the case at all. You can start really, really small. I think the only thing that you need to know before you get started is how you want it to link to your brand. So it will need a name. The name isn't something that you can really change a few times until you get it right. You want to get it right the first time. So the identity of your program and the objectives are all you need to know at the beginning. You need to know what you want to achieve. It could be, as you said a few minutes ago, it could be that you need to differentiate from your competitors. It could be that you're spending too much on acquisition and you need to get more customers in more cost effectively. It could be that you're not retaining enough of your customers. You need to know what question you're trying to solve, because that will really inform your reward strategy. And as I said, you need it to be strongly linked to your brand. It shouldn't look like something different or something tacked on. It should be an integral part of your brand. But then after that, you can just start really small. You could literally just reward purchases to begin with, or even just account creation. And then you can start adding things as you go. I think same with emails. Loyalty emails perform really well, but that doesn't mean you have to be sending loads of them. Just start with really simple things like a point statement every month, and if there's a reward available, a reminder for that. And you can just start with the really bare bones, and then as you see it starting to work, you can invest a bit more time in it and grow different strategies. You might add tiers, you might add more rewards. But yeah, I think my first piece of advice to anyone would be don't try to create all bells and whistles singing and dancing loyalty programs from the get-go. As long as you know what you're trying to achieve and how it ties to your brand, you can just start with the basics.
Yeah, that's good advice, actually. We always refer to what you're talking about as the big bang approach.
Yes. Yeah.
Things happen so quickly online, and technology changes so quickly, and customer behaviors change so quickly that, trying to decide the be all and end all, now for what they're going to want 12 months from now it's impossible. You sort of almost do a lot of, try things, measure the results, if they're working, keep going, try some other things, measure the results, and so on and so forth.
And I think it's all about communication. No consumer is going to mind if you change your loyalty program. They might get confused though, so your communication just has to be really clear. If you change the value of a point, you need to let your customers know. If you change the threshold for them to get a reward, you need to let them know. Just as long as your communication around how the program works is really clear, it's the most important thing. Because when you look at, I think there's a real legacy problem in the market. We've inherited a fundamental kind of distrust of loyalty programs because of things like Nectar cards and club cards, where to actually figure out how to use your points is like trying to figure out how to fly a space rocket or something. I've given up on Nectar because I honestly can't work out how to get a new card delivered to a new address. It's too difficult.
My favourite loyalty rewards program is the British Airways one, where they demote you if you don't fly enough, which a silver card, and they let you in the lounge, and you enjoy the lounge every time you fly, whether you're flying business class or not. But then if you don't fly enough, you have to go back to, not being in the lounge, and it feels like such a punishment.
It would do, yeah.
I don't think it is a loyal. I think that's going to change radically, obviously, with the airlines.
Yes, that's
so can you? So if a merchant wants to sort of explore ways to do this and get started quickly, what's the best way of them getting in touch with you, and how can you? I mean, they might have no idea how to start. So is that a service that you can provide as well, and give them advice based on what other merchants have done and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first port of call, we've got quite a lot of good content online now to help people. So we have actually for inspiration, we have something called our Hall of Fame, where it's kind of online rewards, online awards. Sorry, you can see what other people are doing. A lot of our blog posts also have really nice examples, so you can just get some inspiration from there on our website. In terms of getting started, we have a freemium model. So we do have a free plan for stores that are slightly smaller. And then we also have our paid plans that unlock some additional features as well. And those are available on all the app stores for those e-commerce platforms. Or if you wanted to be talked through the software, then you're more than welcome to book a demo on our website as well.
Okay, cool. So you just go to loyaltylion.com and you can sort of put in your details and somebody will get in touch.
Absolutely, yeah. You can just book a time in the calendar.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just I'm conscious of the time, and so I just wanted to finish up with more of a kind of like non-e-commerce related question, which is I've been asking everybody this, but how are you personally coping with the lockdown? And what are you finding easy? What are you finding hard?
That's a very good question. I think the thing I'm finding hardest is I just seem to be busier than ever with different Zoom calls and conference calls and quizzes and bingo nights, and it's suddenly gone on steroids, and you end up double booked and having to do 3 in one night. I think certainly the remote social element seems to have taken over, but then also just having a bit more time to do things like a lot more cooking and trying different workout classes. I was telling someone the other day I got bored of all my normal HIIT workouts and running and things, so I tried a hip hop dance workout instead. I hope nobody ever sees, but it was brilliant. It was a lot of fun. So
I've been the same. I've probably tried at least 3 new types of exercise in the past 5 weeks, and I seem to sort of get really obsessed for a couple of weeks, and then I get bored and move on to the next one.
Well, I highly recommend hip hop on YouTube.
I'll give it a try.
Make sure you wear a baseball cap and go all in for your costume.
Okay, great. Well, listen, Fiona, thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really interesting.
No, well, thank you for having me.
No problem. And I will hopefully speak to you again soon.
Yes, I'd say thank you.
Right. Bye.